Good morning and welcome to the University of the Ozarks. It is September 4th, 2020, and we're live from the Office of the President here on campus. So again, welcome. Thanks for joining us, whether you're joining live or whether you're watching sometime in the coming days. Know that we appreciate the support and the interest in what is going on here in Clarksville. If by chance you're tuning in from afar, it's an absolutely gorgeous day here on campus. It's been raining the last few days, but it's bright and sunny, and it feels like the whole campus has simply been washed, and that it's also starting to feel like a college campus again. Students walking the mall, going to and from classes, mostly wearing masks. Of course, there are the few that see me at 50 yards out and then the mask goes on. But that's a start. They have their masks and they know they should be wearing them. So know that we're doing okay. Got several things I want to tell you about. Some of them are details. Some of them are more forward-looking, and then we'll take any questions that you might have. So if you have questions, feel free to type them in the comment section, and I'll take them here in a few minutes. So first of all, kind of the update. Where are we as it relates to COVID-19? Where are we as it relates to quarantining, isolation, testing, and all of that? Well, I'm very pleased to say that as of the moment, we have two single digits. We have 2 positive cases, and we have 5 students in quarantine. So we're writing that down, as I mentioned last week. That it appears things are normalizing as to what it means to be in quarantine and what it means to be in isolation. We're receiving some really great help from our friends at Airmark that run our dining services, and that students that are in quarantine now have an app where they can order their meals, where early on it was more take what we have. Now they're able to order from a menu, and then those meals are delivered to them. So we're feeling like we've got at least some systems and processes in place to really serve our students when they do need to go into quarantine. Continuing on the COVID-19 conversation, we had a little over 300 community members tested yesterday by the Arkansas Department of Health. Now, many of you know that I'm one of those that say, okay, if we're testing otherwise asymptomatic, otherwise healthy people, why would we do that? Well, the short answer is the Arkansas Department of Health asked us to get a baseline, and we're partnering with the Department of Health. I appreciate that others say we shouldn't do that, or you might not do that. We're following our local health department's direction, and that they were able to test folks here on campus yesterday, and the community members and students and faculty and staff that were tested should have their results within 72 hours. I think it's a nice test of the systems and protocols within the county, and I'm very thankful for the wonderful partnership that we have with the Department of Health. So that's where we are as it relates to COVID and how things are working from a test and health standpoint. And I want to talk a little bit about from a curricular standpoint. So as we opened the school year and started, we had our faculty kind of in groups. We had about a dozen faculty that were solely face-to-face. We had about a dozen faculty that were solely online. And then we had everybody in the middle that was in this hybrid space. And I think the hybrid space caused a little more confusion, a little more worry than we intended, as faculty were figuring out the technology, as faculty were figuring out how to balance using when they're online and when they're face-to-face. Now that we're approaching and going into the third week of school, we're encouraging less hybrid, more face-to-face. We're encouraging less online, more face-to-face. And that we know that that's going to be fluid in the coming days and weeks as we learn how to balance space, how we learn how to balance teaching pedagogy, and how we learn to balance that with health and safety. So if you're one of the people on the line supporting one of my students, encourage them to articulate their needs. For me, it's self-advocacy. Encourage them to share with us, hey, this is working beautifully, or maybe this is not working so much. And that we're making game day decisions. We're making transitions in an effort to serve our students as best we can. And remember, that's one of the tenets of the plan for COVID our repopulation plan is to deliver to our standards of excellence, and know that we're making modifications in an effort to do that. You'll also know, if you're supporting student athletes, that folks are starting to do strength and conditioning training, that we have teams that are starting to practice as we work through all of the different restrictions and guidelines, either by the NCAA or one of our two conferences, or for our non-NCAA sports, their governing bodies. It still means they probably won't be traveling here in the fall, or they'll be doing local only. But it's our hope and it's our plan that they're going to be traveling in the spring, and we've actually modified schedules so that they are traveling and competing in the spring. So know that we're up and running there, and that we're excited to see how that shakes out. Now, a couple things that I mentioned dining services and the app for students in quarantine. We'll also, starting on Monday, be opening the seating side of the cafeteria for limited seating. You may remember early this summer, I said we're at the end of 2 weeks, we'll evaluate, and if we think we're in a safe space, we'll start releasing some of the restrictions. So on Monday, we're going to start releasing some of those restrictions and allow for limited seating. You'll also start to see changes on the tennis courts that are directly across the street from campus. The fence will come down, the nets will come down. Please remember, these are our old tennis courts, not the new complex, the old ones. Nets are coming down. The umbrellas were delivered today, and tables will start arriving as soon as we can get them, and that will be set up for outdoor seating. And the tables are designed circular with fixed seating that should be able to accommodate social distancing just as it starts to cool off in the fall and create a really nice outdoor seating space. I mentioned last week that this weekend we have a series of rallies that start today and go tomorrow, as it relates to Black Lives Matter, and they're under the auspices of the Black Lives Matter label. The community had a couple of rallies earlier this summer that went off without violence, that went off without challenge. However, we've been told to expect that this one might have outside forces, quite honestly, might have forces that are beyond Johnson County. So what does that look like for us and our students? We've encouraged our students not to participate. And those of you who know me, the idea of free speech, the idea of a rally and expressing concern, I believe is paramount to our democracy. However, I believe human safety is above that. So we've encouraged our students not to participate, because we just don't know what forces there might be and what that might cause to our community. At the same time we're doing that we're also working with our local police department and providing meals for the officers that are there to protect and serve our community. many of you know that many of those officers, including the chief of police, they're our alumni, they're our friends, they work with us regularly. So know that we're in this space, but you may not see us marching down Main Street, and that we'll continue the dialogue, we'll continue our efforts to try to help with this with these trying times, but we're going to try to ensure the safety of our students. Couple of more things quickly. Folks have asked about, hey, can I shop and where do I get a mask and these kinds of things. The online store is up. I will post in the comments the hyperlink so that you can see it. Remember that we've changed the bookstore to Exchange. So sometimes there's a challenge on the search. They're working on a button so that it's really easy to find. But I will comment and drop the hyperlink in the comment section so that if folks want to go online and shop, they can. If you go on immediately, you won't see these yet. They just arrived, additional boxes of them just arrived that have the nice logos, and that Valerie will get a picture of those up. Two other things. Homecoming. As Miss Katie Ventris noticed in the comments, homecoming is just around the corner. And in our social media pages, Facebook, alumni site, you're starting to see schedules pop up of what we intend to do as it relates to homecoming. One of the wonderful benefits of being virtual is that we're going to be able to have more alumni, I believe it's called alumni talks, alumni speaks, that it used to be the professions with a purpose, that we're going to be able to have a few more of those and be able to spread them out throughout the week. We're going to be able to have more programs differently because we are virtual. So now we won't be having the picnic in the backyard. We won't have some of the alumni games, but we'll get back to that as quickly as we can. And then finally, wanted to tell you that as it relates to my graduates from last year, the brick ceremony, which I've heard several people ask, well, how's the brick ceremony going to work? Well, Brian Henderson, the director of alumni alumni engagement, director of advancement and alumni engagement, working with Justin McCormick, the assistant director, working with Taylor Plugi in student activities, and Kara Flynn in institutional research, have figured out a way to give the graduates a virtual plot with all the bricks so that the graduates are going to be able to do drag and drop so that they can move them around to where they can have their brick next to who they want their brick to be next to. And then the second weekend in October, I believe it's the 17th, we're going to do a virtual brick ceremony using the map that the graduates create, and we'll place your brick. We'll plant it exactly where you asked us to plant it, next to whoever you asked us to plant it, and we'll be doing that virtually. And I think it's the next best thing to you all being here face to face on your knees planting your brick yourself. So watch for that and know that we'll watch the drag and drops until they stop moving around, and that it's time to start thinking about that legacy, that tapestry, and at that time we'll talk about what's the lifespan or life expectancy for a brick, knowing how many generations of Ozark students and how many generations of Ozark's alums are going to step over those bricks. So hold that until October. But know that the bricks are here. The last shipment of bricks is arriving, and that we'll get those planted in October for you. Maybe the very last thing I'd tell you about is the campaign, Climb Higher, and the campaign for students. As you know, we launched that campaign a little over 5 years ago, and the campaign is scheduled to close out later this year. It's been amazing, and I will never tire of saying thank you. The final focus of that campaign is science, and I'm happy to report that the gap is down well below $2 million. I believe the gap as of today is about $1.4 million. That will then allow us to do an $18.6 million renovation, restoration, and expansion of science. Um, It'll be one of, if not the largest construction projects this campus has ever taken on, and it'll be fully funded, so that we're able to do it without encumbering future students or future projects, and that as I said, I'll never tire of saying thank you for all the support that comes into this institution, whether it's a dollar or whether it's $10, $100, all the way up to the multi-million-dollar gifts. Everything is appreciated, and it's my hope that you see us as good stewards of the resources that you share with us. And with that, I'll see if there are questions that folks have. I'm going to scan real quick. Questions about homecoming this year, 100% line, or are there activities on campus for outside events? The most of it is online and virtual. That we're working on what are the limits and what are the opportunities for anything outside. That you'll see the posts of the schedule, and that we're limiting the number of outside events. And part of that's just out of protection for the campus. That if we found a nice equilibrium of where we are with COVID, the idea of bringing in 1,000 of our friends, even though we'd love to see you, we're going to say let's hold, and maybe we do something. Maybe we do a spring fling, and it's not homecoming, but it's something of the like. Let's see here. Thank you, Dr. Otis, for posting the website for where you can shop. Please feel free to shop online. For faculty that have not come back to campus, I mentioned we have about a dozen faculty that are solely online. There's an envelope at your office manager's desk that has that has two of these, has all of the Ozarks branded gear that we've issued to everyone. So all faculty, staff, employees, all students have those packets. For folks who have not been back physically to campus, those should be at your office manager's office. All right, so a couple of comments that are comments, not completely questions, but how do we think about student behavior? And for the parent who posts the comment, the question, you are in my brain, you're at my kitchen counter, you're in almost every phone call I've had over the last 6 months. Is how do we plan as well as we can? How do we create systems and processes to protect students? And then much of it falls on the behavior of 18 to 21-year-olds. And they're hungry for human interaction. They're hungry for touch. They're hungry for community. And it's this tension of they'll put on their masks, and then but I know the person next to me. They're okay. They're surely okay. And then the masks come off. And it's this tension of asymptomatic. It's the tension of wanting to believe that we're all okay. And if I believe I'm okay and I believe you're okay, we take our masks off and we mingle. Know that we're encouraging, we're pushing, we're prodding, um, but at the same time, we're not locking people in their rooms, and that will continue to work from that space. So yes, if you're working with a student, encourage them to wear those masks. Encourage them that if they want to hang out, go outside, put a little distance between themselves and their friends. Um, you know, find those activities that allow you to play and be fun with each other, but not right in each other's spaces. Um, when the cafeteria opens up next, will the choices be expanded back as well? It is my understanding, that they will be. There's been a lot of jokes going on. Will we ever have a salad bar again? And that's not only the campus, but in larger spaces. Have we now decided we can't, shouldn't? So know that Aramark is going to gradually open things up and add more and more choices back. Um, Now, I'm going to relate that back to the parent comment a minute ago. If we see a spike in cases, we'll restrict back again. All right. So there are benefits to seeing our numbers come down, and that's going to be in things like food and seating and how that works. So I need you to be as safe as possible, even when I'm not watching, even when I'm not walking the sidewalks. I need you to be as safe as possible. Uh, when will individuals be able to visit campus? Uh, we haven't talked about that in a week or so, about when we think we'll open campus back up for visitors. We have opened our campus up. For example, our tennis complex also hosts the high school, the Clarksville High's tennis matches. And last night we had 4 teams there. We have protocols in place for how many guests you can have, how many visitors you can have, and it's generally working. That if we continue to feel confident in that, my assumption is we'll start asking and thinking about, well, what does it look like to have visitors on campus? But at this time, we're still in that let's not go there just yet. What is the outlook for the gym and the equipment? We have the Rawhauser Fitness Center equipment set up in the front half of the gym, what would have been the lobby of the gym. Part of that's because that space is air conditioned. Part of it's because it has it's just bigger space. And Mr. Stevenson and Mr. Clark are working on a plan on when that can be opened up. They're also working on a plan with Coach Gardner, or Director Gardner, that leads the strength and conditioning space. It is my understanding they were trying to do more and more outside, but then it rained for a week. So know that they're working through that, and that they will be sharing that with their students. Okay, I believe I've hit the questions. Please remember that we do not take Monday off. We have classes. If you're working with a student, encouraging a student, or if it's I can see several of the students chiming in on here, fight the urge to travel this weekend. I know we're all feeling comfortable and we're going, hey, we've got this figured out. That's the time we get lax. We might take risks that we didn't previously think of as risks, simply because we want to get back to whatever we thought normal was. Fight that urge. All right, fight that urge. I was told yesterday about several of our faculty that have released future work, that if students want to work ahead, they can. I would go, great. How do we find a way to do that? How do you find a way to play Frisbee in the mall? How do you find a way to do different things? Please disinfect the Frisbees in advance. And now probably I just said Frisbee in the mall and somebody's going, we shouldn't do that. Find ways to be a student without getting in your car. Find ways to do things without piling in and heading to other places. I know this weekend typically students head to some of the larger publics. Some of those larger publics have had a rough week, and are seeing spikes in their numbers. I don't want to be that next week when our numbers start going back up, and the only way to protect against that is for you to join up and saddle up next to me and go, we're not going to do that. So that's where we are. That's what the briefing is for today, today. I don't know why I said it that way. One last chance. I appreciate the ongoing support. As I'm watching students walk to class, I don't see a single student without a mask. Last week, I couldn't say that. So I'm pleased to see the behavior is changing a little bit. Know that as I say, I appreciate everything you do for us. Continue to pray for the institution, for the University of the Ozarks. Pray for our students. Pray for all the doctors. It's my understanding we have 3 different phase 3 tests on vaccines going on in the United States and multiple tests going on around the world. Pray that they're successful and safe. And pray for our country and the leadership, and know that we appreciate all of you. So God bless, and take care. Bye-bye.